Hey guys and girls, we are, I believe, live. Tells me I'm live on YouTube. We currently have one person viewing. Um, if that person could tell me if they can hear me, that would be amazing. And we've had 40 people register for this. Um, Around about that. Actually, I think it's probably more than 40. But due to the power of attention and people having busy days, we'll probably get a lot less people than that. And I also forgot to send out the email in regards to reminding people about this, but we'll see what happens. Um, Let me bring up my slides and I will kind of cover what we're going to be discussing here today. So, um, Mozart. It's not a history lesson as such. This is more like how potentially your IT business is a little bit like Mozart. Um, and if you know anything about Mozart, um, he was he's basically, when I mention the name Mozart, everyone knows who he is. He's part of the English language. He's part of our culture. Everyone kind of knew that he's a child genius and he had this amazing talent at such a young age. And your IT business is potentially like this. You maybe have a technical team that's extremely good at what they do. Maybe yourself included in that technical team. You've got this hidden talent, but not many people know about this amazing skill set you have from a technical perspective. And just like Mozart, what we're going to do for you in this webinar is make you famous so that basically in your local marketplace, when someone mentions your name or your company's name, they immediately know exactly who you are, and they think of that's the IT guys that we need to be calling upon. So the sort of pre-read to this is the history of Mozart is that before he was famous, no one knew who he was. His dad and he lived in a small one-bedroom apartment in Austria. This is back in, I think it was like the 16th century or somewhere like that. And basically, what his dad did was he exploited his talent. He took him on a tour, and that's how he became so famous. So it was like aristocrats around Europe, and he took them on tour, and he was playing in all these big events, basically all the way around Europe, and that's how he became famous. So we're going to be taking your IT business on a tour. That's what I'm going to do in this webinar. I'm going to show you how you can take your IT business on a tour and how you can become just like Mozart. You can be the name that everyone knows in the local business community as the IT people, the number one IT people. So that's what we're going to be doing in this webinar. But I want to kind of paint the picture for you just now on where we are in the sort of marketing landscape. Let me see if I can get these slides shown a bit better. It doesn't look like it. Yeah, there we go. Slightly better. 2 seconds here. There we go. Okay, so some of the issues that I see when my customers come to me at first, as they've all got issues around marketing. So they've usually tried 5 or 6 different tactics, and none of them have worked. Sometimes they've invested heavily in marketing, and they still haven't got anything out of it. They've either invested with cash from the business, or they've invested their own time. They've potentially hired people, but they're just not getting a return from the marketing. And this is what the landscape looks like. A great website, you maybe have one of these already. I see some MSPs, they're paying like $400 or $500 a month for a website. Some of them are paying up to 15, 20,000 pounds or dollars for a brand new website. And it sits there on the internet and it lives like a glossy brochure that no one really looks at. Or if they do look at it, they're not picking up the phone wanting to speak to you. That's what I see. Also, my opinion on websites in this year is that, I'm questioning, will anyone actually need a website going into 2026? And that is mainly because we've got AI now. There's obviously still a place for them, but the MSPs I see that have spent a lot of money, they're just not getting a return on their websites. Then maybe you are posting out content on a regular basis. You're maybe part of Paul Green's MSP Marketing Edge, or maybe part of IT Rockstars, or even like the Tech Tribe. We all provide MSP marketing content. And I see this regularly going out from our members here at IT Rockstars with our premium marketing that we've got. It's going out every month. It's going on our blogs. It's going on our LinkedIn, as a LinkedIn articles, or even blog posts. But really, in reality, if you look at the engagement on that content, how much engagement is it actually getting across the web? And what I'm finding, even with my own business, is that content is becoming harder and harder to push and get engagement on when it comes to social media. The main reason for that, certainly from an IT business's perspective and MSPs, is that there is a lot of competition out there for the eyeballs. And when it comes to the topic of cybersecurity, compliance, business continuity, remote monitoring and management, there's much more interesting topics. So it's really difficult to get content and eyeballs, attention on that type of content. Then you've got things like lead magnets. So you might have like a lead magnet on your website, maybe a downloadable ebook, or it could be a tool like the Cyber Score, but it's not driving the conversions. And I see that time and time again, where there's all this marketing effort put on the website, and the owner or the marketing and sales department think that that's going to generate the leads, and it never does. So that's the issue that I see, and because of it, the calendar is not full of sales appointments like it should be. And then we look at automations, so like scaling using AI automations or just plain automations. You've got things like LinkedIn automation, a tool called Dripify, which was quite popular about 3 or 4 years ago. I tried to get it to work at IT Rockstars, and when it comes to those types of tools, most people on LinkedIn can immediately tell that it's a bot and it's sending them an automated message. So certainly, from my opinion, it doesn't cut the mustard. It doesn't stand out from the crowd. Most people ignore those LinkedIn automation requests that are coming in. Then you've got other quite popular systems like cold email. So using a tool like Instantly, buying a set of domains and then warming up the domains, and then using a tool like Instantly to do cold email blasts to a list that you maybe purchased from, acquired it on LinkedIn or a poll or somewhere else. I see a number of MSPs going down this route, and I don't know if that works or not. I've tried it, I couldn't get it to work. But what I will say from an MSP's perspective, you have to question morally what you're doing, because you're supposed to be protecting your customers from spam, and you've probably got some sort of anti-spam solution as a part of your tech stack. So big question then is, well, why are you spamming people and then trying to sell them an anti-spam solution? It's a bit like going and setting fire to someone's house and then knocking on their front door, asking if they want to buy a fire extinguisher. So I always question that one. Then there's direct mail and cold calling. Cold calling still works. It's becoming a lot more difficult. Just recently, I turned on call screening on my iPhone. Anyone that wants to speak with me now goes through call screening on my iPhone. They have to actually tell me their name. So that's going to become more and more difficult. And then direct mail, that's already been made difficult because of the hybrid work environment, less people in the office, people working from home. It's really difficult to get hold of people's actual mailing addresses now. It's becoming more and more difficult. There is obviously some of the big MSP marketing firms out there. They've relied on this heavily for the last 20, 30 years from the school of Dan Kennedy. Unfortunately, it's not really forward thinking because the world's changing at such a rapid pace. So how do we cut through all of this noise, all of these problems? I try and actually get sales appointments in the diary. And, just to add another layer of desperation to this, we've now got AI in the mix where, everyone's attention's on AI, and you can generate AI content at the speed of light and put it out there, and it's amazing. How do you cut through all of that noise? How do you get people to pay attention to your marketing so that they actually engage with what it is that you've got to sell? How do you become that household name in your local area for IT support? The best way that I've seen to do this, and you're listening right now, you're watching right now, is through webinars. I want to just kind of show you a little formula when it comes to webinars. Let me bring it up on the slide here. The reason I love webinars, and this is, webinars aren't for everyone, okay? And I'll explain that in a minute. But With a webinar, there's 4 things that you can do. You can start to build a relationship with your audience. You can't do that if someone lands on your website and downloads your brochure or your ebook. You can actually start to build a relationship, even though it's one-sided and there's maybe a chat. You can certainly start to build a relationship, and that's the very first piece to this. The second piece, you guys are MSPs, IT businesses. So when it comes to all of the new technology and whatever is new in the market is changing all the time, and it can sometimes be quite complicated to explain the technology that's going to help solve those business problems and allow businesses to reach their goals. So the best place to do that is in a webinar, because you've got 20 or 30 minutes to actually educate your prospects on what your technology is and how it solves these business problems. The third thing, you get to entertain. This is maybe not so entertaining in this webinar, but if you're good at telling a story or telling a bit of humor in the webinar, you can inject that, and it's just that human connection which you just can't get from any other form of marketing. And then the fourth one here is present. So you get to actually present your offer. So what is your foot in the door offer to get that first meeting in the diary? What's it going to be? Is it going to be compliance? Is it AI? Or is it just straight IT support that you're doing? So you get to present your offer, but there's also the fact that you have everyone present in the room. You have their attention. So that's the REAP formula. That's why I love webinars so much. And they're going to continue to work very well, and they're going to cut through all of the AI noise that we've got. What I'm finding that's working right now in regards to topics that drive attendance, and this is one of the biggest things that I hear MSPs discuss with me when I talk about webinars, is like, Scott, I've tried webinars and I couldn't get anyone to register onto them. And we've run a number of webinars with our members at IT Rockstars. What we found is that topic that you're going to discuss is extremely important that you get that right. Copilot, AI, they're hot topics right now. They're trending topics. Every business out there wants to know how they can get AI and get it to do all the sorts of things in their business. When it comes to things like cybersecurity, personally, I think that's a little bit old rope. There is obviously still this massive risk out there, which is growing all the time. But do the business owners actually want to sit through another webinar about cybersecurity and compliance? And from my own stats with running webinars for my clients, I see a much higher attendance rate when it comes to Copilot and AI. Now, I have said the dirty word in some MSPs and IT businesses' mind, and that is Copilot. A lot of people just don't use Copilot or don't like it. They much prefer ChatGPT or an alternative. I recommend Copilot. The one reason that I recommend it for MSPs or have a webinar on it is purely because you're looking to attract in businesses that are on the M365 stack. You want to attract those types of prospects in. They've maybe got Copilot sitting there with their existing MSP, but that existing MSP hasn't shown them a single thing on what they can actually do with Copilot. This is your opportunity, and this is the massive opportunity and money that's been left on the table, and it's a foot in the door for you guys and girls. So how would I start a webinar? How would I start a conversation? It doesn't necessarily have to be a webinar. It could be an in-person event. You're asking 3 questions in the webinar, and they're very high-level questions. The first one is like, where is Copilot showing up in the business? So like when you go to save a Word document or Excel, is the Copilot button there? They might not have the license. So that's the first thing you need to understand. The second one is about labeling, and this goes into Azure sensitivity labels. This is a piece of work that you can implement. It's a project work that you can implement if that client doesn't have Copilot, or if they do and it's not been set up correctly. Ideally, you want sensitivity labels enabled in the tenant, and it's purely so that if staff are using Copilot and they're referencing documents, they know if it's a confidential document, if it's internal, or if it's public. So just asking the question, when you go to save the document, are you prompted to label it with one of those labels? And it's a very simple question that anyone can answer, because they'll either say yes or no. Based on that answer, there's potential project work behind it. And then the third one, having an AI policy. Like, this is like basics. It's like you've maybe got an IT policy already, but do you have an AI policy, like a white list of AI tools that are allowed? Maybe you want to keep all the data in the M365 tenant. Maybe you only allow Copilot, or maybe you're using Perplexity or ChatGPT. What are the rules around what types of data goes in there? Is it in a policy anywhere? Those three questions will allow you to understand the maturity of the companies that you're going to be speaking to in these webinars. And it will allow you to understand, okay, there's obviously a conversation, there's an opportunity here potentially. And you've got the orgs that they're maybe fully on board with AI. There's still work there that can be done. You know, the MSP, the incumbent MSP, may have licensed up the org to the hill with AI. They may be implemented Azure sensitivity labels. But is anyone actually building automations for them? Is anyone looking at their workflows? What can be actually automated? Maybe not even with AI, just automated through, I don't know, Power Automate, something like that. So it's a really big piece of, it's a foot in the door. You obviously still have your core MSP services, but if you lead with something like this, you are seen as a cutting edge MSP. You're not an old dog in the industry, okay? And you need that sort of, you potentially need that that sort of reference, that frame of reference. So IT Rockstars, in our community, we have, it's called the Copilot Revenue Roadmap. As part of it, I show you how to actually score a company on their AI maturity. And this is something that you can offer in the webinars. You can offer an AI maturity assessment where you're going into the business and you're asking these types of questions and you're just seeing where there's opportunities more than anything else. Also, as part of the roadmap, we've got project examples. There's example project work that will actually turn into revenue. And not just one-off projects, though there are, obviously, that makes up a bulk of it. There is recurring opportunities as well. So maybe you do start to build flows and automations and things in AI Studio, or whatever it's called. But there's potential support work in there too. So hopefully that's got maybe some ideas ticking in your head. And the Copilot Revenue Roadmap, it's not only about AI, we just wrapped it in AI. It's really about how to run an effective webinar, how to get people to register to the webinar, and how to actually get them to turn up. So some tips for you. And we'll start with registering for the webinar. This is the biggest blocker most people have when they're on a webinar. Run a webinar, can't get anyone to actually register. And we've got 6 people that have been on to this webinar so far, which is good. And as I say, there's around about 40 people that registered. So stat-wise, 25% is actually a good attendance rate. So that's to set expectations. But it's not, something you need to be aware of is it's not, whilst maybe not everyone's turned up to the webinar of these 40 people, I still have the contact details. They've all opted in, okay? And they've opted in through lead gen ads. So the reason you're here at this webinar is because you saw one of my ads you saw on Facebook of all places. You're an MSP business owner or an IT business owner, but you saw my ad on Facebook. And I get this all the time from MSPs. They're like, Scott, why the hell would I want to advertise on Facebook? All my audience is B2B. I need to be on LinkedIn. And I just shake my head and go, no, no, no. Facebook Meta is far more powerful when it comes to ad targeting. It uses machine learning in the background. It's just got a new AI in the back end of Meta ads. And it basically figures out exactly who to show your ad to. So you no longer have to do any targeting whatsoever. You just call out in your ad who it is that you're looking to attract in, and Facebook or Meta does the rest. And that's why you guys and girls are seeing this right now, because I run these lead gen, they're called lead gen ads, and you can get really low cost. So the stats around, in fact, I'll show you the stats. Let's just go into them here. This particular webinar, let me show you the stats. So it's this one here, Evergreen. We have had, let me just run up to maximum here, maximum time frame. We've spent £123, that's about 150 bucks. We've had 7,400 people look at the ad. 337 people have clicked the ad. And of those 337 people, we have had 50 people actually register on. And there was a little bit issue with tracking, so that number is probably a little bit higher than it actually is. So there is around about 40. But you can see the cost per lead, £2.47, so around about £4 for the lead. And these are people that are opting into my marketing. So they've registered for the webinar, they're in my CRM. I can remind them of the webinar, which I forgot to do for this one. But I can also market to them. I can send them a newsletter. And even better than that, I can actually follow up with them. I can go and give them a phone call as well. But these are all the benefits of running the lead gen ads. So it's 3 for the price of 1. You get it on Instagram, Facebook, and the Meta ad platform, the Meta audience platform. LinkedIn, you go and do LinkedIn, you only get that one platform. Other cool thing, you have in-app lead capture. So basically when someone clicks the ad, the form opens up in Facebook or Instagram. There's less friction involved. You can get people to easily opt in that way. I use a landing page now, though. What I've learned from this is that you actually use a landing page that can help filter out people that you don't want to come along to the webinar. And as I mentioned, there's machine learning in the background with this, and there's no targeting to do whatsoever. So some tips if you're going to start this, use tools that you've already got. So I'm using obviously YouTube Live for this webinar. I would suggest as an MSP that you actually use Microsoft Teams. There's a webinar option in Teams. In the calendar, there's a drop down. Instead of new meeting, you choose new webinar. You can run a webinar from there. And the main reason that I suggest that is you don't have to go and buy any Zoom licenses. You don't have to bother with OBS Studio, connecting it to YouTube. It's just like a normal Teams meeting. It makes it so much easier. And also for not to overcomplicate the first few of these when you start doing them. I see a lot of members when they start with me, they want to get all the tech right. They want to do connections with Zapier and all sorts of stuff. Do it manually to start. Capture the leads on Meta and just literally just copy and paste the email and names into your Teams webinar, and Teams will send them the invite. Do it that way, much easier. The second tip is on the copy. So make sure your ad actually calls out exactly who it is you want to come along to the webinar. This is called dog whistle copy, where you're basically calling out. So the ads that I run for this webinar, I called out that I'm looking to attract in MSPs and IT businesses. Oh, and guess what? We've got IT business owners, MSPs that have come along to this, or people that are directly connected to them. And then the final thing, the third thing, and I did a little YouTube video on this just at the weekend on my channel, is the follow-up. This is extremely important. You can follow up with the people that registered for the webinars, those that attended and those that didn't attend. The best method that I would suggest for follow-up is to pick up the phone and actually speak to them. The cool thing with the phone calls is that people know who you are because they've opted into your ads. And if you've set up your CRM correctly, you've maybe sent them a few emails before the webinar. So even if they never attended the webinar, they'll know exactly who you are. You can open up the conversation there, 15 minutes, just say, hey, how did you find the webinar? Or I know you didn't make the webinar. If you got time just to go over what I had in the webinar. And it just opens the door a little bit. Another question you can ask is, why did you register for the webinar in the first place? It's all about Copilot. It's all about compliance. Why did you register? So that's today's lesson. Anyone got any questions? We've got a few people on now. We've got 5 people watching here. And thank you, Brian, for saying that you can hear me. I appreciate it. But if anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to take any questions. Also, IT Rockstars, if you are interested in me helping you generate leads for your IT business at $5 a lead or thereabouts, there's a done with you service where it's very low cost, and we go through this together, and we have a weekly meeting. We cover the marketing, we cover the sales, we cover things like call reluctance. I'm going to be talking about that next week. Following up your prospects. And then we've got a managed solution as well, which is also low cost. So if you're looking for someone just to run the webinars and you just have to turn up on the day, and we offer that as well. So I don't think we've got any questions. Don't see any in the chat. We've got 8 people watching though, which is cool. All right, if we don't have any questions, guys, I'm going to get going. Hopefully you enjoyed this. And yeah, check out itrockstars.net. I will help you generate high quality leads using webinars, of all things. and lead gen ads. They work really well. And if you're scared about presenting, don't worry. I've taken many MSPs through this that hate presenting. We can introduce you as the expert, and you literally just have to turn up and tell a story on the webinar about one of your clients. We had a guy called Steve. He came in, hands were sweating, but he got through it okay, and he was elated once he'd done the webinar. Anyway, if you want to change your business, you want to get more leads, you want to grow, you have to change yourself. So try the webinars. Anyway, take it easy. I will see you guys and girls later. I'll see you on the YouTubes, or again, I might